This is my Pentair IC40. It's a saltwater chlorine generator for a in-ground swimming pool. Here's my in-ground swimming pool right here. See right there? It's about 25,000 gallons. So we use the IC40. The IC40 is rated for 10,000 hours of use. If you do the math on that, it's only a couple of years. It only has a 2-year warranty, so they don't expect it to last more than 3 years. If you manage the level at which you use it, you can balance the chlorine in your pool pretty well between shocking occasionally and maintaining the chlorine level. I think I've got mine almost 5 years. This is my second one though. I keep having to buy these things. And you're kind of stuck with the Pentair because Pentair uses a thread pattern that's proprietary. So once you put the fitting in, you can't buy an aftermarket and slide it in there. Second of all, the Pentair relies on a controller box for its power and control, whereas some of the aftermarkets have their own controller and they don't have to log in or connect to your controller box. So there's a couple of different things that they do to try to keep you in the Pentair family. Frankly, I'm done with it. We're going to go with this Westaho Salt chlorinator. They call these sanitizers. And this has all the same features and functions, but the advantage to this one is it also supports Wi-Fi control. So if I wanted to do Wi-Fi control on the Pentair, I'd have to buy a whole new control box, and that would be quite expensive. This right here is actually less expensive than a replacement for the IC40. Secondly, the IC40 is becoming hard to find. Actually, these are they run $1,100 to $1,500. This one here was under $800, so I mean that's all good. This one, they're really hard to find in stock anywhere. As a matter of fact, the IC60, which is the next one up, is less expensive than the IC40, and I think that's a matter of popularity and supply. So supply and demand. We're going to be taking this one out of service. In order to do that, because this is the screw attachment that goes on to the standard one here, and Pentair has their own proprietary threads. You can't just thread these on, right? So we're going to take the old adapter off of the pipes, and we're going to thread it up for this one right here. So let's go ahead and get started and get into the plumbing. So here's the hole where the IC40 was, and you can see I used to actually have there was another unit in here that put minerals into the water, and I've taken that out a long time ago. The thing just leaked, and it was just not very practical. What I'm probably going to end up having to do, and I'm perfectly prepared for that, is I'm probably going to have to cut and make unions. You need to have 12 inches before your salt chlorinator in order for the measurement devices inside the unit to get accurate measurements. If the water comes around a corner like this, you get cavitation. That creates irregular flow, and it's hard for the sensors inside the unit to get a good measurement. So we need this 12 inches. I'm not just going to cut it back and get what I need. I may end up taking this out, but right now it doesn't leak, so I'm good. The IC40 is a little shorter, so I will need to take some of this back, but we'll have to measure that. The other thing that I'm working with on here is on this end, the coupling marries up directly with a T that goes down to my pool cleaning booster pump. So we're going to try very hard to preserve this T, otherwise the plumbing starts getting complicated, because then it's butt to butt. So we're going to go through some techniques about how to take something off, how to take a fitting off of some existing pipe. Here you can see there's a little piece of pipe in there. So we have two opportunities here. One, we can get this fitting off and preserve that piece of pipe, or if in the in the course of breaking this into pieces, we disturb or damage this pipe, we can then take that pipe out and attempt to get it out from underneath this T, and then put another piece of pipe in and we'll be good. So there's a couple of opportunities there. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut a couple slits in here, no deeper than the thickness, and spread it apart with a chisel. So I'm going to get started on that, and we'll break in as I make progress. I've got to do that on both sides. This one will be a little easier because you can see the edge, so I can gain access to this edge. I know exactly how deep to go, and I'll be able to see it a little easier. So this one I think I'll probably have better success at, but this is the hard one. All right, I'm going to get started on this, and I'll break in as soon as I make some progress. All right, so made a little bit of progress here. Let's check in on it. This right here is my Milwaukee vibrating saw. These are really great, by the way. If you don't have one of these, you should go out and get one today. Battery powered, so you don't have wires all over the place. This is a metal cutting bit. The reason why I use a metal cutting bit is you really don't cut this. You basically melt it, and that way you have a really good control over how much it cuts. It doesn't cut too aggressively, but you can create these little slits. So what I've done is I've got a slit here, cut it into 4 pieces. These fittings are ABS. As you can see, all these fittings here are ABS as well. ABS is not resistant to solar or infrared, any ultraviolet. The direct access to the sun will dry it out and it'll become brittle. And this is relatively new because I've had to replace these recently. But the other thing about ABS as a material is it'll resist a certain amount of heat, but it's not resistant to shock. So if you hit it really hard, really with something, it'll shatter. It's almost like glass, but it's plastic. So it's just kind of an oobleck kind of thing. When it's under shock, it'll shatter, but then it becomes plasticky once it starts to relax. So what's going to happen here is I'm going to take a little wood chisel and a ball peen hammer, and I'm going to work these edges to try to pop each of these quarters off. And if I'm lucky, it'll shatter the black material, and the glue, which is not ABS, it's dried in there and it creates a seal, but that seal is a different material, so it should pull away from that seal where the glue is, and make it real easy for me to pull these off. So that's what I'm banking on, and I'm going to show it on the video right here. So let's go ahead and get this thing going. You can also see that I haven't drilled or cut all the way through. There's no white showing in this groove right here. It's just most of the way through the black, right? All right, so let's get this going. Get this in here. Whoops, sorry. Here you can see a little bit of that is starting to move right there. I don't know if you can see that. It's starting to deflect right there. Oh, okay. Well, it started to come apart, but again, like I said, I have two chances at this. I can get the black one to come off, or I can work on deflecting the white one on the inside and try to protect this. All right, so let's go ahead and clean this up and see if we can start breaking away this inside piece. That's what I was aiming for. I mean, you can see it even has a barcode from the original installation. But it broke. I had a chance. I had to take it. There you go. So that's the whole black thing off. That's what I was aiming for. But now I have to take apart this white piece on the inside. All right, so in order to do that, we're going to need to make some relief as well. So by cutting little slots in there, now I have it compartmentalized, and I can break each one of these pieces and hope that they continue the shard into and pull that out. I mean, heck, you could probably just put a pipe wrench on that and start breaking that down, but we're gonna hit it. So if I can't preserve this, I can get to this part, but I still have a butted up one here, which means, and that one's butted up here, and that one's butted up here. I mean, I would have to redo all of these, and I may end up breaking these, and I don't want to have to buy new valves. So I really want to make this work. So I'm going to do what I can to try to get this inside piece out. There we go. I'm going to get a smaller chisel. All right, you can see I've got a little crack forming right in here. I want to get this in there so I can separate the glue from the PVC. There we go. That's better. Perfect. All right. Let's see if I can clean this up. It looks like I'm going to have no problems here. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and cut the video, and we'll pick it up when I get a little closer. All right, there you go. Managed to get it all nice and clean. Just need to sand that out and make it smooth. And there's no edges or sharp edges or anything that's going to keep it from getting a good seal. And we'll glue that up really nice. Now, if you're following along at home, you'll notice there's debris in there. You don't want to have debris in there, and I've closed off this valve probably too late. But anyway, the pieces and shards and whatnot, I actually have some went down in this hole right here. So I'm going to have to clean out this pipe. But you know, learn from me. Find a way to keep that from like put a rag or something in there to keep the shards as you're hitting, keep the shards from going down the pipe and messing up other things, because otherwise you'll have to go fishing. All right, so on this side, I'm going to go the easy route. Again, this is patched and plugged. I think I'm going to go ahead and cut it off. We'll put a union on here, and then I'll make exactly the right length that I need. That way I don't have to fiddle fart around with trying to make this thing work. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it right here, and then we'll go to the store and buy some 2-inch pipe, a couple of couplings, and get this thing plumbed and ready to go to put the new one in place. All right, so I've been to the hardware store. Quick note on that. You might think to yourself, oh, well, get everything you need before you start your project. Well, in any project where you have a little bit of demolition to do, when you're breaking things, you don't know how far the breakage is going to go. So I always kind of hold off when I'm doing kind of PVC projects. I hold off until I have destroyed everything I'm going to destroy to see how much of it remains, to see how much I need to actually replace. So hardware store second. Demolition first, hardware store second. So this Westaho chlorinator comes with a couple of adapters. So if your pool equipment is not 2-inch, but it's 1.5 inches, these adapters will allow you to still run these 2-inch couplings. So that's kind of neat that it comes with not only a couple of Schedule 80 PVC pieces here, but the couplings that come with it. So it makes it so that you don't have to buy a specific product for a specific kind of piping. So that's really good on them. The next thing that I thought was really great is Pentair, in their infinite wisdom, and I know it's a corporate decision, you want to keep people captured and only buying your products. They use O-rings to seal. And those O-rings are not a standard size, so you have to buy the Pentair O-rings. And because it's just an O-ring, they'll flatten over time. It's just, I mean, it's a great seal when you got it working, but you know, occasionally you have to take this thing off and backwash it or whatever you got to do. Put the acid in it to get the cell cleaned. Anytime you do maintenance on that, these O-rings get stressed, and you'll end up trying to find these. You'll have to order them special. They're Pentair specific, and the diameter only fits on these couplings. Second thing is, like I already mentioned, the threads on these couplings are proprietary, and they only work on Pentair products. So you're kind of stuck with that. I don't really like that. I like the right to repair, and anytime a company makes products that you have to buy their replacement parts on if you're going to repair it, I just feel like a slave, and I don't like the lack of freedom to shop and you know, buy products that are less expensive, or that do the same product, that do the same thing. Now, with that said, these Westaho connectors, they don't use an O-ring. They have a slot for an O-ring, but they have a seal that has a slotted rubber, like you have an O-ring, but the sealing surface is a larger surface. So you have a lot more contact. You put a little bit of you know, the pool slime that you put in there for you know, managing your rubber, and this is going to last for stinking ever. It'll handle better compression. You don't have just a little O-ring where you have one tiny little sealing surface and it's going to flatten. And even if this does flatten, it's a much larger area for it, so it's going to last longer, I have to believe. This is the first time dealing with non-Pentair, but I'm really enjoying the way that these are designed so far. Anyway, so let's get busy on the plumbing. We bought a coupler, and on the instructions it says I need 14.5 inches. So let's go ahead and mark that off and start working on the plumbing. All right, so I've started the cementing. This is the first coupling. The thing that you need to know is put the freaking thing, the threaded part on first. Threads out. I'm gonna make sure that that's on there before you do anything, right? I went ahead and put their Schedule 80 extension pipe on here. Schedule 80 is a little stronger than the Schedule 40 that I have on my connectors. So if I ever need to take this apart again, this will be a stronger piece of material, and it's less likely to shatter when I start taking this piece off, should I ever need to replace it. Now, the other thing is, like I said, we're only using the yellow multi-purpose single step But what you'll need to do on here is prep the material on each side. Now I've already sanded this side rough, and on this side I've sanded the inside, but what you'll see on here is some manufacturing defects. Now these are just molded, right? They're not high accuracy, but you can see there's some high spots in here. You want to level those down as best you can so that you get a good seal. By sanding that, you're going to have a really good flat surface, and it's going to seal really good. You want to get the union to go all the way to this edge right here. So taking out those high spots is going to ensure that's going to happen. All right, let's throw some glue on both sides, inside and outside surface, and slide this baby in. All right, so as typical, on the instructions they tell you to lay out the pipe and make marks with the marker and cut to, you know, blah blah blah. You know, the problem with that is that those are realistic kind of pie in the sky dreams that when you start gluing, everything is going to fit right. Yeah, I mean, I suppose on the drawing board that looks good, but practical instructions are more get one done, then take a measurement. And so that's what we're doing here. This is the end that's going to have a coupling, so we're not going to do this end. We're going to do the end that is static. We're not going to change any dimensions on this side, so we do this end first. I've got the glue in. It's still wet, and you know, I just want to kind of control how much glue is in there. But the other thing we want to make sure is we don't get any glue on any of these threads, right? When you put this back there, there's a lot of access, so you just want to make sure that, you know, while it's drying, this is loose and that there's no glue on any of the threads anywhere. We got a little close right there, didn't we? So we're gonna let that dry for a little while, and then we'll take a measurement from this inside surface. And you'll also notice I removed the rubber from here, the rubber seal. We don't want that to get any glue on it either, because that will degrade that rubber pretty quick. So let's let that dry for a little while, and then we'll get a measurement and throw our coupling in here and put the second side on, and then we can get on to the actual installation of our sanitizer. Moving on. All right, so on page 26 of the instructions, they specifically say that you'll need 17 inches of pipe, straight pipe, and that you need to cut a hole 14 and a half inches in that 17 inches of pipe. So that'll be like representing this hole right here. Now that 14 inches represents the length of the pipe, and then you add on to it the thickness of the fittings, right? So the actual length from this flat edge to this flat edge is, and I'll show you right here, 13 and a quarter inches, or 415. That's where it's coming out at. So if you're into the centimeters, that's where you're at. Otherwise, it's 13 and a quarter inches. That's what you really want to get at. Is, you know, we've already installed the one side, so we're losing this end. And if you look at the distance between where the pipe stops and where the rubber hits the road right here, that is where your distance is made up. So since we're starting from an edge that we don't have a blank piece of pipe that we can just cut 14 and a half inches on, and we have a union we're gonna make up to that, we have to start with the known measurements, right? So we have an anchor point where we've already installed one, and we need to get 13 and a quarter inches away from that to the next point, right? So we're going to dry fit these and measure 13 and a quarter inches. So let's go ahead and sand it up and prepare the unions for the other end and dry fit and see if we can get that 13 and a quarter inches. All right, so without getting too far into the weeds, literally, I got weeds here, with absolute precise measurements, we're going to work off of relative measurements. Now again, I've got this one glued in, it's permanent, it's not moving. This is our starting point, this is 0. And I know that I need to get 13 and a half inches from the compressed rubber here to the compressed rubber here. What I've done over on this side is I've put a mark where I know the depth of the inside of this coupling is, if I put a piece of pipe in there, that's how far it will go. And I've transcribed that mark over to here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull 13 inches from this edge. Whoops. Lost my rubber. I'm going to pull 13 inches from this end, compressing that rubber, 13 1/4 inches to here, and then just transcribe that mark with my thumb right here, and that'll be how much that I'll need to cut on that piece of pipe. So that's the plan. You can see this is all lined up. Got my mark transcribed over here. I got my 13 1/4 inches. Oops. So that is probably the most direct way to get that measurement, to know exactly how long this piece of pipe right here needs to be. So I'm going to go ahead and cut that, and then we'll move on. All right, so there we go. We got our hole cut. I've already started gluing this in, the coupling in. And the last thing I wanted to capture on the video before I do my last glue to put this this coupling in is threads facing this direction. It's loose and it's freewheeling. I need to have this thing available after I put that coupling on, because if you forget to put this on and you put that coupling on, you're going to be SOL. You won't be able to use that coupling, and you'll end up cutting things apart and putting it back together again. So don't do that. Put this on there first. All right, I'm going to glue this up, and then we'll get going with the proper installation of that salt sanitizer. Quick little tip: when you're gluing, the stuff's going to drip. If you got anything below where it's going to drip that you don't want to get glue on, or anything that's going to be movable, or anything that the glue is going to impair, you want to be able to cover that up. So put a little bag or something down, cover that up. All right, let's get started on installing or setting up the Wi-Fi on this unit, and get some chlorine. Get some chlorine running through the system. Now you'll notice I got this upside down. The mounting bracket that they have makes it lean one direction. It was going to be leaning away from me. I wouldn't be able to read it at all, so I flipped the system over and just changed the mounting bracket so that it was mounting the other direction. And so now, although it's upside down, at least I can read it when I walk up to it. Okay, let's go ahead and get this thing electrically plugged in and get rolling with the installation. All right, so there you have it, installed and running. Everything's tested fine. Let's go over the controls on this new unit. First off, you'll see it looks kind of funny on the video because of the refresh rate, but this right here will give you an indicating of whether the power is on or off, and when it's on, it actually gives you the temperature of the water. The refresh rate kind of makes it look a little funny. It's 83 degrees right now, so I mean that's pretty much ideal water right there. The controls give you some feedback about the salt level and whether you need to add some salt, or if you have too much salt. This is actually also gives you some information in the app, which I'll go over with some screenshots pretty soon here. You can turn it on and off right here. This button is for setting the Wi-Fi. If it's a solid red, you know that you've got it done. These controls right here allow you to control how much chlorine that you're making. And this is kind of a nifty deal here. You can see it goes through the gradient twice. If it's flashing, it's the upper number, and if it's solid, it's the lower number, right? So I mean, you can set this thing all the way down to 2 to 8% until you get to 10, and then it goes 20, 40, like that. So I had it set at 100, but let's walk through. I'm going to go ahead and set this at 40% so I can get a longer life on my salt cell. I've already got the chlorine up to a nice level. It's been running for like a day and a half now at 100%, and the chlorine in the pool has rebounded nicely. So you can actually even set this in a boost mode if you push both the buttons, and you can in the app you can set the boost mode as well, so you don't have to be here at the device. Let me pull some screenshots of the app that comes with, that you can install with this thing. Once you get the Wi-Fi set up, it's a little tricky. You do need a 2.4 megahertz Wi-Fi connection, but I have one of those accessible here, so it works really great. As long as your phone is connected to that same Wi-Fi, you'll be able to connect it with no problems. Okay, let's take some screenshots and walk you through what's available on the app with this device. All right, so when you get into the App Store, the app you're looking for is Jenny Life. You'll see it in there. This is what the icon looks like. There's a lot of things in there that confuse you, but this is the one you're looking for. Once you first start the application, you're going to want to identify your chlorinator. You'll find that one a little further down on the list. The words are small, but the pictures are good. After you find your device, it's going to walk you through a wizard that'll take you through the installation of the network, your Wi-Fi, and the Bluetooth settings for the device. I'm not going to go through it on this video because it's kind of in depth, but it'll be different from everybody's different perspective. So check that out. When you get that done, this is what the opening screen will look like. So when you have your device open, you'll see a lot of things in here. Salinity, the parts per million, the temperature of the water, whether the flow is good, what your operating mode is, all the way down. And then when you get to the very bottom, it'll tell you how long you've been running your unit. And then last, there's a power button, so you can turn it off. So that's it in a nutshell, the installation of this Westaho. The pronunciation is irrelevant. This is the installation of this salt cell sanitizer for the replacement of the IC40 from Pentair. If you have any questions, comments, throw them in the comment sections. If you're interested in what makes the IC40 work and whatnot, I am going to do a deconstruction of my old IC40 on a follow-up video where I'll take it apart and we can see all the parts that are in it. And you want to get a good look at what those cells look like after they've been used for 3 to 5 years. That video will cover that. I like doing some of those deconstruction videos when something breaks so you can see where the failure point was. It helps you to understand how it worked and how it stopped working. So anyway, check that video out. It's coming up shortly after this one. And subscribe if you haven't already, and you'll be able to catch the rest of my videos. That's all I got for you today. Cheers.